and burn. Hey everybody, so tonight I'm just wondering, who do you think Black Flag's best vocalist was? I know most people are probably going to have, this is going to become sort of like a Thunderdome event between like Keith Morris and Henry Rollins, of course. But I would just like to point out that I love both of them. Well, I don't like Keith Morris as a person because I had the unfortunate encounter, unfortunate opportunity of meeting him about 2 decades back in Toronto. He was at this kind of like a little like impromptu Q&A, and I can't remember where it was. It was in a record store somewhere. It doesn't matter. And the thing was Keith Morris, his personality, he reminds me kind of like Don Rickles. Not so much in the sense that he's always looking to insult people, because, you know, Mr. Warmth, Don Rickles, that's what he was known for. But I mean it more like in the sense that he doesn't really let anybody else talk. That's what Don Rickles was always famous for. Like, if you ever see any old shots of him, any old video of him on, like, Carson or whatever, and you happen to be watching it for, say, another one of the guests that happen to be on Carson, you're not going to get to hear them speak, because every time they try to talk, Rickles is going to cut them off and say something insulting, which I get. Again, that's, like, Rickles' thing. But the same thing applies to Keith Morris. I found that, like, every time somebody tried to ask him a question, he tried to make a joke about it. Not to insult the person or to insult their question, but because Keith Morris is under the misguided notion that he's funny. And Keith Morris is not funny, and he is always constantly trying to be, except none of his jokes land. So I don't love him as a person, because it's like, after witnessing that, like, in front of me, it was just so, like, the secondhand embarrassment I felt was absolutely uncanny. Like, by the end of it, I couldn't even look at him anymore, because he was just trying so hard to make a joke. But yeah, so I know most people are going to argue between Keith Morris is the best because his voice was amazing, or Rollins because Rollins kind of is Black Flag. But for me, personally, it's Ron Reyes. I absolutely loved Ron Reyes as the vocalist of Black Flag. Like, as in the vocalist of Black Flag that is part of the crew when they're in the decline of Western civilization. I absolutely love Ron Reyes, but I also love Keith Morris because his voice is absolutely perfect, and everything he's ever done has been great, right up until now. I know he's shutting Off down now, but Off was a kick-ass band because Morris's voice is just built for punk rock. And Rollins is Rollins, okay? He's one of, like, the coolest people God ever created, and of course, Black Flag would be nowhere or nothing without Henry Rollins, despite some of his lyrics being completely dumb. Like, what's that line there? When I talk to you, I want to hang up the phone. Wow. Back when Rollins thought he was a poet, you know? But I love Rollins. I love Rollins as a person. I love Rollins' delivery. I love his manic stage presence. I love how intimidating he is. I love how he's not afraid to fight the audience. Of course, Black Flag's audience were known for not being the best people in the world. But I absolutely love Keith Morris's voice as well. I just don't love Keith Morris as a person. And that is, it's only been one time that I was around the guy, but wow, it was rough. Like, that was really embarrassing. But yeah, so who do you guys think is Black Flag's best vocalist? I hope all the people out there that love Keith Morris don't think like I was looking to thrash him. It's just, he's not very funny. And I don't think people that aren't funny, they shouldn't keep making jokes, you know? But I love his voice. I love what he did with Black Flags. His like, the first 4 years came alive because of Keith Morris. And so I don't really love the Circle Jerks, but Coup d'etat is a great song. So yes, so is it either going to, let's just sum it up, is it either Keith Morris or is it Henry Rollins? Who was the best vocalist out of those two, I suppose? But yeah, look, I'm going to leave it there. So thank you so much for hanging out with me while I discussed who was the best vocalist of Black Flag. I know your answer is either going to be Morris or Rollins, but that's it. You guys are amazing. And again, I apologize if I offended anybody for saying that negative shit about Keith Morris. It's just, he's not funny. Yeah. Have a good night.